The Tunnel Vision of Self by Theo Wilson. So you've been offended, you've been hurt, disrespected, dishonored, misunderstood, and your motives and intentions wrongly interpreted. How do you get past it? You want desperately to just press rewind and everybody get a do-over. Not going to happen. Pages in history can't be rewritten, but they can be re-understood. How do we see our offender, our assailant? What did Christ say while being murdered? Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. Jesus understood that humanity is afflicted with selfishness, and selfishness grows self-protection, and self-protection grows self-justification, a tunnel vision of self. This tunnel vision of self allows us to disrespect others, to dishonor them and not consider their feelings, while at the same time seeing them being the ones being disrespectful and not considering our feelings, making excuses for ourselves while accepting no excuse from others. We feel justified in taking offence because we see them as offenders. We see them through the tunnel vision of self. But the Bible tells us God is love, and a few pages over it tells us love takes no offence. If God doesn't take offence, then he never sees any of us as offenders. He understands that we are all sick with selfishness. It's an illness we are born with. We would not take offence with our children if in their illness they hurt us, threw up on us, ruined our new couch. We would not see them as offenders. In fact, the worse the situation, the more offensive the situation, the more evidence of the illness, and the greater the need for healing, and the more compassion we would have. This is how God sees all of us, and how he wants us to see each other. Matthew chapter 6, verse 12. To the extent we see others as God does, to that extent we can forgive and bring healing. Forgiveness is forgiveness, that is, before giveness, to give beforehand. Before the act, before the thought, before the sin, God foreknew and forgave. This is one of the ways we are created in the image of our Creator. By going back in time, in our minds, to before the hurt, before the offence, we are able to foreknow. And because we can before know, we can before give. We can, just like God, keep no record of wrongs, 1 Corinthians 13 verse 5, and take no offence, Luke 23 verse 34. We can do this with others, and we can do this with ourselves. How can God, or man, before give, if sin requires punishment and appeasement in order to be pardoned? He can't. We can't. It is only by understanding that sin is an illness requiring healing, and not a criminal record requiring punishment or pardon, that we can before give. The tunnel vision of self. Something I wrote based on what I learned from Tim Jennings. By Theo Wilson.